Ambassador Kawonero because I would be really unfair if I don't mention that he's the one who has chased us, called me, sent messages to ensure that I am here with our team. And when I walked in, who do I see? Because I like history. So you need to know that there are some people here who have like a special affinity. So if you look at General Valia, you look at General Mwesije, you look at General Soke, you look at General Jarigonza, there's no other general in the room, right? They are the only ones who carry that. Huh? So that night of 24th, ending in 25th of January 1986, that assault on Makindia Barracks, the dreaded Makindia Barracks, the journey to really free the country and give it stability. When that General Jarigonza was fighting that battle, the lady who has been on the microphone was only 4 years old. And the ambassador, our ambassador to Congo, was not yet born. I think so, Kanisa. I don't know if you are born because I know your late father. I know your family. So you need to see that real change is slow. And in the slowness, sometimes we can forget that things are moving. And so to have these generations integrated in the room, and you see a permanent secretary who was 4 years old, an ambassador who was not yet born, tells you. So I was very happy when I walked in and I see these groups of people, and change only happens and it is focused if you have people who are thinking. If you are led by people who think, because for me, thinking is profound. If you don't think very well, you can run with the next fad and you are in trouble. And so when I was coming here, it was up and down. Vincent, you didn't tell me that I would speak last and that people would be half awake. I hope we are all awake. Are we all awake? I just want you to speak for yourself, but I want to hear that we're all alert and we can take in another 25-30 minutes. Are we good? Because if you are not good, I will ask you to stand and jump a bit and just, but there are old people here. I saw Jarigonza walking with a stick, he will not jump. So just, I want to see your phones. You can just put up your phones and the phone looks at me like that. The face of the phone. Fantastic. So just put it on that table and don't look at it for some 15 to 20 minutes. Don't take the call. Don't send a message so that we'll be quick. So I'll just have a quick conversation. I will not run the PowerPoints. And we had some videos to play, but I said we need another time to get this done so that we are sensitive to those who are coming next. So this afternoon when I was coming, I thought of the three most influential modern thinkers. So when I was thinking in my mind, I found they were all Jews. One of them was called Karl Marx. And you know, Karl Marx was a probist. To probe is to say, what are the forces that underlie social and economic change that are subterranean, that are not seen? And without wasting your time, I know that I have some people from our history who understand the forces of production, the means of production, the labor theory of value, the things that Karl Marx in the 19th century spoke about. The second one I thought of was Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud brought to surface what he called the unconscious mind, which shapes the conscious mind. And the unconscious mind is what forces behavior and life's trajectory. The third one I thought of was Albert Einstein. So I thought, after putting my notes down, they are all Jews, right? Interesting. So Albert Einstein was probing the invisible forces of the physical world. That the laws of physics, what my sister was sharing here, time, space, matter, And so when I checked, I said they were all probists. They were looking for what is subterranean that forces society or an individual to change. And so I ran very quickly I was trying to ask President Museveni many years ago when I was young. So some of you who have worked with me, I really speak boldly. And when I can't be honest, I can't help myself. And sometimes when you grow a little older, you try to reduce your questions. So I forced myself to keep asking questions because life is about the questions we ask. I didn't tell him that I wanted to know how did he land at USE and UPE? That was my hypothesis. He didn't know why I was asking many years ago. And so he said, I was a young boy in 1966. I went to see an older man who was in government. And I had seen living with people who didn't get a chance to go to school. And so if you know our society, you know that sons of priests and chiefs were the only ones allowed to go to school until recently. So he said, I went to ask this man, how can these common people be like you in office? And the older man looked at him. This man was given by Idi Amin. He said, he looked at me and he said, young man, look at my hand. The fingers are unequal. There is absolutely no way this one can be as tall as this one. The meaning of the story for that old man was to say, don't bother about these peasants and all these commoners. Just focus on people who can change things. And so many years later, this is 1996-97, we start to speak about universal primary education. It's followed by universal secondary education. It's followed by Bonaba Gagawale. These things are steeped in the thinking when you are younger. We only see the fruits later. And so therefore thinking for me is very profound. And the reason I'm starting with these examples is that when we were locked down, March 18th, 2020, I thought this is normal. We'll just come out of this quickly. And suddenly, everything started shutting down. So we had 85,000 public bars, pubs. Pubs, 85. You know that a bar employs at least 3 people. Guy in the counter, the one who's serving, and the security at the gate in case you leave without paying. So I calculated these 3 who are not working, who are the people behind them, the families. And I came to a figure of 320,000 people out of work. And then I looked at schools, 260,000 teachers not teaching. And then I looked at the per capita export from 2012, and it was going down. And my business lost 60% of its customers. And so I thought, what does one do? So I took an unpaid contract in South Sudan and drove 150 kilometers out of General Valencia, so he knows the place I'm talking about. You leave Juba, you go east, you stop in a town called Torit, then you move on. There's a small village there called Tirangore, and I lived in Tirangore for about 6 months. The people who live there are Lotuk people. They're like Iteso and Karmajon. And I had 2 graders and tractors and a team of 30 people who are trying to save our jobs so we can work without pay, 28 kilometers of work every day so that the business can survive. And I thought, who has these chances? It's a hard job. You're living on portion, but you're enjoying it because you're working. Huh? And so when I returned, I said, Mr. President, what are we doing to grow the economy post-COVID? How do we were growing in areas of salons and industries law. Where is the thinking that says we could grow and really not just recover, but pass the kind of growth we had before? And therefore, some ideas began to emerge from various sources. Some groups said, we can give money to people, to businesses, so that okay, you give me money, I can recover. I thought, I can give you $1 million and tomorrow you won't have it and you will not even have the business. Another group said, but we can substitute imports. I thought that's interesting. It's good to substitute imports, but we know that if you substitute imports without what we call a sunset clause on exports, that import substitution will not last long. Those businesses will be protected and they don't grow. So Professor Tyamhika there must understand, not might, what I'm talking about. Overprotection just dimutes the economy. Number 3, some people said we can create more departments. Obviously, we can create more sub-counties and villages and, and employ people. I thought all of this that people are talking about is consumption. It's not growth. And all growth is hard. All growth is costly. All growth is about choices we make at an individual, country, institutional level. When you make a choice on what you want to do, you've made a loss in another area. You can't have both sides of the cake. That's what we tend to say. I want to keep my jobs, keep my consumption, but at the same time I grow. A business cannot grow if it is not making those choices. So I thought growth will only come from exports. And I thought exports are the only oxygen of the economy. The rest is carbon. You can even call it carbohydrates if you want to you want to reduce sugars in your body. You can call consumption carbohydrates. You can call it carbon dioxide that causes problems in the air. So I went into reading. If you like reading, I can share with you some of the titles. And I thought, where do I find how other countries did this? So there's a book called Embedded Autonomy. The author is Peter Evans. It's an old book, but it shows how other countries did it in the 70s and 80s. There's a new book by Graham Allison. Graham Allison writes about what they call the Thucydides trap, that every economy, every country that grows must take down another. So if China is rising, it will fight with the US. And he talks about the things that should be done if a country wants to grow and maintain its place in the world. The other author is called Ezra Vogel. Ezra Vogel is a biographer of Deng Xiaoping and Park Chung-hee. And he wrote those in the 90s. And these are really very good books that will give you a picture on how other countries used exports to grow. The other book I read was Chalmers Johnson. It's called The Miracle of Japan. Out of these books, I found something interesting. I thought I would copy what other people have done, but I found 4 strange things. First, all those economies grew when there were no protectionist policies that we have today. Every country now, post-COVID, tries to keep its market. Nobody wants to get in my market because I have to have jobs. I found that growth happened during the Cold War, when the East and the West were dishing money to countries to keep political and security influence. I also found out there was no climate change. There was no talk about plastics at that time. Nobody cared about what they put in their stomach. Today, people are so alert what they eat. There was less terrorism. Today, the cost of a container from China to Kampala is about $18,000 to $20,000. There's a lot of trouble on the seas. There was less fragmentation of global value chains. So when you are looking for something and you find that you are who you are, you'll never be Japanese or Norwegian, what do you do? So you think, how do we drive exports? So we set up a hypothesis. We said, this is what we could do. If we took a look at 13 products, so those products, we have them in a video, so I don't want to bother you. So we took those 13 products, we said, if you look in the mouth of each of those products, so don't worry about my words because I think in images. So open the mouth of coffee and look at what is inside and look at the gaps and see from the farm What improvements can you make on a tree level? Because that's value addition. In terms of transportation, what businesses of young people transport coffee from Busedan in Sironko down to Bali? What can you do there with those young people? And then we looked at packaging. The reason you don't deal with exports of good coffee is that your packaging is very expensive, the material. Then we looked at all these until the end consumer. Then we said, if we did some things here, we could trigger X percentage of increase in exports. We did that for 13 products, but we could do it for 100 products. And we arrived at a target of $6 billion. As we said, okay, so how do you get the $6 billion? So our hypothesis has 4 pillars. We said we're going to focus on those 4 pillars. Vincent, if I delay, please tell me. I'm running fast, could play videos and all that, but we hope we can find another time. You really invite me to a good audience, but you put me last. And I really want to get these people charged up to know that change is going to come from us. It's not even government. It's the personal disruption, institutional disruption we want to do to ensure that, we bring dignity to the African. Because we will not compete if we don't disrupt the way we live, and the way we think, the way we see the world. So, here are the 4 pillars. So we said, suppose we stop going to the markets blindly. Markets are closer to us. Anyone who has been in the market of Algeria bringing 6,000 containers a year will not allow you to get in. Anyone bringing offers from Brazil into Congo will not let your meat in. Anyone saying that you can take $500 million worth of dairy products into Algeria, you sign agreements, you don't realize that the global value chains have been broken into small portions, and some of the suppliers of that milk are in your region. If you don't have that information, you will dance around on price, on certain things. So we said, stop going to markets blindly, conduct dipstick survey. So we've conducted some surveys. I don't have time. Brenda there has some of those countries we've looked at, and we look at entry points. When you do research, it's very important that you quickly follow through with trade representation. There is no country that does not have, that wants to compete, that is not represented on that market where it wants to sell. Embassies and ambassadors, you're fantastic people, and I thank you for the work you're doing. But going on the shelf and checking who brought coffee last week and smelling it and knowing the aroma and putting it on the side and looking at vanilla and bananas and in the night typing out information and sending it to companies, it's another job. It requires someone focused doing that every day to tell your producers what it is, what pricing, how do people eat what they eat, when do they eat it, how do they want to eat it. This is customer information that other countries are beating us at. So some countries even know on the shelves where to place their products. Countries, they sit, there's a cabinet session, they say we're attacking the market of Britain and we're going to Sainsbury's. Who is in Sainsbury's? They know which other countries. They say, okay, how are the shelves in Sainsbury's aligned to give them an advantage? Go get us the pictures. They look at them, they say, if we're going to do in-store advertising, we'll put Ugandan products at shoulder level or here, because people don't buy stuff that is here or that is here. They buy what is here. These are government officials sitting. It's war, because trade is war by other means. War is fought based on the information you have. We have generals in the room. I don't have to kind of tell them what they know already. So, markets, research, trade representation. If you find that it's good, trade hub. Set up a trade hub. Bring all Ugandan products and put them there. A trade hub is to say, when we're in class, it's only I found a message here who knows my school, where I went to primary school. Long ago, some classrooms collapsed, so we came back and built it with a church and all those things. So the teacher used to say, Ruabogo, you say present. In many markets, when you say Uganda, No answer. You say Kenya, here. Some young neighbors, here. So what happened to us? When you call a roll call of countries in business, we should be there. That's what the trade hub means. Now, those trade reps, government doesn't pay them. I find business people who are interested in, what's the amount of difference if I sell Ugandan product? How much margin do I have? Think, because the budget is not there to get some of the things done. So once we got to the markets, we saw, we don't need CNN. CNN is for insulting us. And BBC, term limits, world leaders, here for Wicom. CNN is your extreme liberal media that doesn't want you. But that's what you pay to appear. So we went into what you call product segment media. Go find a journal on coffee. Go find a journal on fruits and vegetables. I think Irene here knows many times I've sent her international reporters without explaining what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying, tell your story. But there'll be an alternative version, but be in there. Let the minister. Last week we had a story run on by Barrett or Barron. It's a very balanced story. It shows you the houses they have built, but it also talks about other things. I don't mind that publicity. It's better than the publicity that says Uganda national ID is used to oppress opponents. And nobody answers. Internal affairs silent. We're silent. Why are we silent? This is war. We have to answer. So the markets are taking a lot of time. So market is pillar number one. Please be intentional, deliberate on what you're doing with the market. It will punish you if you're not ready. It will welcome you if you're ready. Readiness is at home. It's not when you're on the market. Now, when we found the market, we found something else. Markets require standards. You must comply with particular standards. So if you say, me, I am from Kabarole, I know how to get good avocados, well, I'm not talking about some people, sorry. The way I just send them to Cambodia is the way I send them to Britain. What? Britain is stopping you from selling in their market. I don't have time, I'll tell you some stories, but I think we have some media here. When I took this assignment, and please, this assignment did not come from do this, do the other. It's thinking. What can we do if some people have fought a war and they're in their late years, and there's another war to be fought? You stand on their shoulders and fight better. And then you say, this is what we can do, this is what we can do. You don't complain what is not yet done. So, I called all the donors. I said, you funded one sector called fruits and vegetables for 40 years, but we don't grow. What is it? They showed me all the amounts that come into that sector. 80% is workshops, travel. 20% is the actual technical support that goes in this. I said, why are you doing this? Of course, they don't tell you, but clearly what they are saying is, we don't want you in our market. We want to do the workshops in your home, but never sell us your food because you're competing against our farmers who we give subsidies. So if you don't understand that, you continue quoting them for more loans, more grants. But what are you doing at home to ensure that you really can strengthen those capabilities to export? So standards is pillar number 2. If you have laws, rules, regulations on food safety that were last done in 1964, please, you're not in the room of people talking about trading in another market. So we've been working hard to create a food and agriculture authority when government is collapsing institutions. Why are we doing this? Vet medicine, chemicals that we spray, rocket which was banned 15 years ago in Europe, which we use on our tomatoes and other things. Food safety for human beings, animal feeds. We have said, people, let's put all these in one place. So that if they are all in one place, A certificate to take something to another country will be very easy to find by the private sector. It won't be too many places for a private sector person to chase. But there's also something important when you collapse things in one place. So I have a 20-year-old, a 19-year-old, they are in universities, but they don't touch cash money. They don't understand it. When you bring 1 million shillings or 10,000, say, what is this? Are you like a wanderer or something? Because for them it's on the phone. They want digitized stuff. That's the population. That you, the fighters of the resistance, in whatever way, because I use soldiers, but the other fighters. For me, some of my best fighters are Wachato and Goma 1993. You not hear them here, but they are there. They made sacrifices for us to sit in these rooms. So we say, you can digitize and blockchain this certificate so that wherever it's shown in the world, it says Uganda is ready.